Welcome, members. Thank you for joining us. Thursday, March 7th. I'm live with Greg Simpson. He is in the Tampa Bay area. We're going to wait for some people to hop on here. Already getting some likes. Keep those likes coming in. This is the second Facebook Live that we've done, and we want to make it really interactive where Greg, whoever the host is, Greg this week, can provide as much value as possible. So feel free to comment and ask questions, and we'll get answered live. Greg, absolute man. We're gonna wait just one more minute here to funnel some people in, and then we'll start this off. Just as a heads up, Greg and I have been hanging out for a few minutes here, and my internet has been going in and out. So bear with us, and I may have to switch internet connections quickly throughout this, but we're just gonna let it rip and see how this goes. How's it going, Greg?
Going well, man. It's going well. I want all the viewers as they go, I want them to use the hashtag #BringIt, because I plan on bringing it for them all the hour that we have here. So if they feel like I'm bringing it, I want them to let them know that I'm bringing it. If not, then it lets me know I got to step it up.
I love that, and I'm able to monitor that right on the screen, guys. So if you could kindly put in hashtag #BringIt throughout the presentation as you feel Greg's dropping some serious knowledge bombs, providing a ton of value. Awesome. Jose is excited. All right.
Roll, Jose.
Awesome.
Go.
Well, let's get on into it, guys. My name's Carlos Zamora. I'm with InvestorFuse, and this is Greg Simpson. He is the man. His real estate company, he is the CEO of Outfast Realty and Investments in Tampa, Florida. He's also co-owner of TB RIA, and he hosts Flipping Real Estate Like the Pros podcast. So just a little high-level intro on him. Greg, I'd love for you to expand on that and get a little intro on yourself, how you got into real estate investing, and pretty much how you got to where you are now.
Absolutely. So, guys, like Carlos said, I'm in the Tampa Bay area. I was born and raised here in the St. Petersburg market. I lived here for my whole life. I now live in Tampa. I have for the last 7 years or so. Got into real estate through one of the big gurus coming through town. We got introduced to it, the investing side through that. It was one of the Flip This House guys. I'm not going to name names, but did not get the value that we feel like we paid for, but that's okay because it got our foot in the door. When I say our, I mean myself and my dad. We got into the business fixing flippers from the start. We paid a lot of money, and we I'll touch back on that a little bit, but paid a lot of money and got our foot in the door and allowed us to explore other opportunities as well. So we did a fix and flip type summit thing, if you will, and we really didn't get much out of that to begin with, but we were able to do our first wholesale deal. And that wholesale deal came about because I started learning about wholesaling through Tracy Kaywood from the Property Mob. And I was able to wholesale my first deal virtually. I was here in Tampa, and it was in California, and we made $7,500. And that was all it took to prove that this business actually worked for us. We then did end up fixing flipping quite a bit of properties after that. Our first deal is we made, as a group, we made like $49,000 on our first fix and flip, of which our cut was $16,000 because we were brand new and we hadn't done a deal yet. And that was like a shot of some shot in the arm, right? That was what really got us going, and it's kind of gone on from there. We have evolved quite a bit in the last few years because the market is ever changing, and that's one thing I will talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about today, is how you have to adapt with the market, and we have done that over and over again. But it all comes down to how you position yourself in the marketplace, and we have positioned ourselves in a lot of different ways now. Again, I've been doing this since 2013, so this is my 5th year in real estate. We do run the podcast, Flipping Real Estate Like the Pros, where I interview other pros around the country and how they do their business. And actually, a lot of them are InvestorFuse clients because InvestorFuse is awesome. And we last year we decided to open up a real estate brokerage because we saw a lot of everything going to retail. And then, as a wholesaler, if you guys are wholesalers, or even if you're fix and flippers, you guys see that the margins are shrinking. So, which that means that the end buyers are getting pinched, which means that the wholesale numbers are getting pinched. So a lot of the deals that we were looking at really didn't match the investor model. It didn't match the wholesale model that we had kind of built through my company, 1-800-OUT-FAST. And so we decided to change it up a little bit, and we decided to open the brokerage because we were like, shit, I mean, we've got all these leads that we can't do anything with. If we had a real estate brokerage, we could actually turn those into listings and make money that way. And that's kind of really where a lot of this has shifted for us. And it has made a huge difference in our real estate businesses, because now we really don't have any leads being left behind. And we're able to convert more because we can do both sides. I still am not licensed. I am the investor. I'm the CEO. So I have no license attached to it. I'm not a broker, not an agent, nothing like that. I'm just, I guess you'd say like the CEO that kind of like helps steer the ship and lead the group. So that's kind of where we are now. We have just launched our construction company as well, because we run into contractor issues here in Florida. If any of you all are from Florida, you can comment and tell me that, and you can tell and agree with us or agree with me that contractors here are better to work with. So we're working on building our own construction company. So we've got our hands in a lot of different aspects of real estate right now, because the market, like I said, has shifted quite a bit and changed. So you have to adapt to what you've got. So we do the retail, we do the investment side. We also, not only do we still wholesale, we also take down properties, we renovate them and resell them. We have a property management division. So if like we decide we want to keep it as a rental, we can hand that off to the property management side, which is really head up by Jeremy Cloder, who's my partner as well. And yeah, guys, it's kind of just snowballed into other different aspects of it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Hopefully that was.
Yeah, man. That really had. It's interesting. I made the assumption that you were licensed just because you did have the brokerage. I know you have a ton of other businesses, construction company in the works. So that's interesting that you're still able to operate, be a CEO of a brokerage, real estate investment company, and not be licensed. So maybe that's something we can touch on. Maybe something we can touch on as well too, like the pros and cons of that. And then Absolutely. I think there's a ton of stuff that we can go over from where you did that first wholesale deal remotely to where you are now, like building out a construction company, which is awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first wholesale deal, guys, was we went and did our mastery or master mentor stuff in California. So we had gotten kind of plugged into the California market in 2013. And so this realtor brought me a deal off the MLS. It was a foreclosure. And the long and short of it was I had told him about wholesaling, where you buy the property and you sell it. And he had never heard of it. Shocker that a realtor had not heard of what wholesaling was. Even now to this day, most realtors don't know what wholesalers do or what it is or what assignment of a contract is. And so I had to educate him on that. And so we told him about, his name is Dale. We told Dale, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. And he had like maybe a day or so after we got that house under contract, because we were going to remotely rehab that property. Probably would have been an awful decision for our first deal to rehab remotely, but he met a doctor, and the doctor said, hey, I'm looking to buy properties. So essentially what we did is we bought it and sold it to him, and he took on the rehab. And I was like, holy crap, wholesaling actually works. And so we made $7,500 without ever seeing the house in person. And our realtor got the commission on the buying side, and then he got to relist it for that investor on the backside. So he was like super thrilled, and we made a little bit of money in between. So that was the very first deal. And it really was that simple. And it happened really, really fast too, because, back then even you still had to close on properties pretty quick, even if they were foreclosures.
Yeah. Yeah. And you haven't looked back since, man. Did that first one. We had a few questions come in, and let me know if you want to answer this now, or this is something we can segue into throughout the interview. But Pablo, I know he's in Maryland. He wants to know your opinion on the market as far as being wholesalers. And can you see the question there on your end?
Yeah, I can see it. Yep.
Cool.
Okay. So, no, I would disagree with that, Pablo. What I would say though is that in any market that's got very little inventory in it, you're not going to be screwed. You're just going to have to either get more creative on how you get your deals or how you get your leads, or you're going to have to spend more money in marketing than you're probably ready to. The acquisition cost per deal has just gone up. I'm not saying you still can't get deals. I don't want that to come off as that wholesalers are screwed in any way. It's just we just found an opportunity of how we could capitalize on some of the leads that were coming in, asking for higher than what we were willing to pay. Because in Florida, I don't know what it is everywhere else in the country, but like in Florida, if I was to refer an agent a lead that I paid for all my marketing for, and it was a retail listing for them, I, as an unlicensed person in Florida, am not allowed to receive a referral fee for any amount of money. Zero. So that's why I was like, why the heck? Why don't I just partner with Jeremy and my dad? And my dad went and got his broker's license, and that's how we did it. So in the state of Florida, again, I don't know everywhere else, you do not have to be licensed to own a real estate brokerage. You just have to have a licensed broker as part of it. And both my dad, Bill, and Jeremy are both licensed brokers. So no, you're not screwed, man. You just have to get creative. And that's what I talked about at the Investor Fuse Mastermind, is how we've actually become even more creative than most of our competition in our marketplace. And we can touch on that a little bit if you want to now, Carlos.
Absolutely, man. Get on into that. And that mastermind he's mentioning was in October, and Greg was one of 10 presenters that just gave a jaw-dropping performance there. So go ahead and get on into it, Greg. I'm sure that'll really
I love this part of it because this is something you guys can do on a shoestring budget, but it's going to take a lot of your time. Okay, so you're not screwed, Pablo. You're just gonna have to put some extra time into this if you're gonna do it this model. I shared it with the Investor Fuse Mastermind in October, man. That we as a company in 2016, I believe it was around 80% of all of our closed business came from referrals. Not direct mail, not spending tens of thousands of dollars on Google pay-per-click, not from SEO, although our SEO does do awesome through On Carrot or Investor Carrot. So shout out to Trevor and the guys over there. But honestly, man, building our business by referral literally changed everything for us, because we don't spend a ton of money on marketing. We can go over what we spend on later, but we honestly don't spend a ton of money on marketing. We have, I think, 3 of our 4 deals in our pipeline right now are all from referrals, right? Even to this day, like right now, I want to say like 75% of the deals in the pipeline are from referrals. One was a referral from another wholesaler. One was a referral from my dad. He went to high school with the guy. And then, what's the third one? The third one was actually a referral from one of our agents. His mom's coworker needed someone to buy her mobile home, and we bought it. Another one we're closing on Monday was a mobile home that we renovated. It's closing on the resale on Monday. Referral for another wholesaler. Didn't fit his buying model. He said, "Hey, here's the thing." And on Monday we'll cut him a referral fee out of it, because I think his wife is licensed or something, so she'll get the money. But there's there's ways to do this right. But again, it's the longer play. It takes time to build those relationships in the community. Like, you don't just get there overnight, but over time, if you I tell, when we teach our wholesale class, it's like, hey, tell every single person who you are, what you do, why you do it, and how you can help them or their referrals. And I'll give you another example of referrals and why social media, guys, if you're not using Facebook, we're on Facebook right now, right? If you're not using Facebook to generate leads, not by ads or, any of that junk, by telling people in your sphere of influence that who you are, what you do, why you do it, and how you can help people, they will come out of the woodworks. I do a lot of live videos. Carlos will attest. I do a ton of live videos, because I want to bring value to the people that I've connected with all over the country, and especially here in the Tampa Bay market. So let me give you another example of that before I answer your next question, Pablo. Okay, so this is actually a pretty cool story. Her name is Diana. I went on a couple of dates with her like 10 something years ago. She messaged me like about a month ago and said, "Hey, Greg, how you doing? It's been a long time. I see you're doing really well. I see you're doing this real estate. I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I know you're doing a ton of stuff in real estate. And she goes, I'm looking to buy a house in Trinity, which is an area north of Tampa, and I'm looking to sell our current house. Bam. I had zero competition in that. Jeremy was able to go get the listing. He's going to work with her on the buying that house in Trinity. And I spent zero marketing dollars, nothing, nada. And I had no competition, because when someone refers you or someone sees value in your proposition, guys, it's easy. It's a done deal. Whereas like if you guys are sending direct mail or you're doing pay-per-click, you're not the only person they're talking to. So you've got a ton of competition. So you have to figure out a way to separate yourself in that competition, right? Well, when you have a personal referral, when someone goes and vouches for you, it's done. It's over. All you got to do is show up and sign the paperwork and not be a jerk. Like literally, that's it. Jeremy told me it was like one of the easiest sells, because we've provided her with enough value to make her feel comfortable with us that we can provide her with the right amount of service. And we will. We're going to knock it out of the park for her. We're going to get her house sold. We're going to get her to the next one, and she's going to have a new house to live in. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. It's not rocket science. Talk to the people you know in your sphere and tell them how you can help people and how you can further their goals and their dreams and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, man. And I love how that is a long-term play. I'm sure that you meet a lot of people that when you co-own and everything else, do the podcast, everything else like that. We had a bunch of questions come in. If you want to take Pablo's, and then we had a few that are going to kind of ask about that referral model, because I'm sure that's going to be a huge, huge value in getting their cost per deal down.
Okay, that's a great question, Pablo. So again, he asked, if I'm not licensed as a realtor, how do I benefit from having a brokerage? Well, I can get paid a salary from the brokerage, or I can get paid distributions from the brokerage. So I can get paid by the company, but I can't get paid like at the closing table on a HUD statement. So I can get paid that way. Hope that answers your question, because I can't get paid as a licensed agent, but I can get paid as the owner of the company.
Very cool. And this is a good question that's kind of following up on the other side. How do you provide value to the seller, or what is the value to the seller when you work with them?
Daniel, can you maybe expand on your question a little bit? Because there's lots of different ways that we provide value to the seller. So I'm not sure. That's a kind of a broad question. I don't know really how to answer that. So because we provide value in a lot of different ways. So I'd like maybe to come back to that one if you can get a little bit more specific, Daniel. I'm happy to answer that question, obviously, but I think I just want a little more clarification on what you're looking for, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to one of his questions, and him and Pablo both talked about it. So this could be a great discussion point of the model for building that referral business.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I talked about this quite a bit at the mastermind too. There's a couple different ways, guys. One of the ways is networking. Networking is the greatest avenue for word of mouth marketing. So what that means is you're going to have to go out there and find places to go network with people. The easiest way, guys, is go to meetup.com. First and foremost, you should go look at your local real estate meetups. Usually you have at least one or two real estate investor associations, also known as RIAs, in your area. Guys, that's your easiest bit of networking. If you are a wholesaler, you can go out there and pitch a couple different ways. Hey, if you're going to go out there and you're just starting, go build your buyers list, go network at a RIA, tell, hey, other wholesalers, I've got a big buyers list. I can sell your deals. Let's joint venture on a deal, and we'll both get paid 50-50 of the commission or whatever, or not commission, I'm sorry, of the assignment fee. And then you guys can work that way. That's an easy networking thing. You should also be going to other meetups that are not real estate related. Hopefully there's areas to go where there's not real estate agents there. Because if you guys are investors, you need to be separating yourself from agents, if you will. So going to other networking events, like we have other ones here called revenue generating activities, also known as RGA. We have all across the world is BNI, which is Business Networking International. I'm a big believer in BNI. BNI is a great networking tool because it's not only just a networking organization, it's also a very heavily in the education business. Because tell you what, guys, let me backtrack a little bit. Networking and building a referral-based marketing thing is not a natural skill. Networking and referral-based business marketing is a learned skill. And I learned that over being in the networking market for well over 10 years now. I got into networking when I was known as the pool boy in St. Petersburg. I own a swimming pool service and repair company. And I was known in the networking circles as the pool boy. And so I built a lot of those relationships before I even moved into real estate. But then when I did real estate, it opened up a lot more possibilities for referrals. So there's lots of different ways, but first off, go to meetup.com, find your local RIA. Also then find some other local meetups that are not real estate related. Something else like the Chamber of Commerce is a good place to go. The problem with the Chamber of Commerce, though, is a little bit too much B2B, business to business. So not a ton you could possibly do there, but you can still build relationships with mortgage brokers and title companies and stuff like that can send you some referrals, or you can send referrals there. And one thing I want to make sure I mention about referral marketing, guys, it kind of like what goes around comes around type stuff. You must give referrals before you can ever expect to receive them. And that's something a lot of people don't understand, is that you go to a networking event, and I swear to God, if I ever see you guys going to a networking event, taking business cards and handing them out like this, just saying, hey, I'm Greg, I'm a real estate investor, people don't give a crap. You have to build a relationship with them. So if you find out, if you walk into a networking event, you should not go in there with the idea of selling yourself. You need to go into that meeting or that group telling them, hey, tell me about you so I can help you, and then in turn you can help me. And that's where I really mean it's a long play, because if you go in there and you try to sell yourself as the solution, you're going to turn off every single person in that room. I can't stand when people come to my RIA that I own and they're like, here's my business card. I'm like, I didn't ask you for your business card. I literally will take your business card and throw it away. Giver's gain. That's right, Michael. That's a BNI thing. So yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. But yeah, man, and that's one of the things that is great about BNI, guys, is if you're in different areas of the marketplace, BNI is a 1 seat per profession per group. So you lock out any other investors that are in that group. And so they have meetings all over the entire world, literally. And so that's one thing you guys can do is BNI. It does cost money, but it's well worth it in the long run. So I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, that was a hell of an answer. I loved it. And I think the psychology behind referrals is interesting too. Or if you see a review of something, how many people go on Amazon and when they're buying something, they look at the reviews. So they'll just read random reviews from strangers. And I do the same thing, and I'll buy it just because I see good reviews. Imagine when you're hearing a review from a friend or acquaintance, and you need help selling. For a lot of people, their house is their biggest asset they'll have in their life. So that's even more powerful if you have a friend recommending you to a real estate expert in their market. So I love that. On top, I love the mindset behind that, the long-term play on top of the cost per deal, just the numbers wise. Your cost per deal is going to be super low. If Greg Bilbro is listening here, he's probably smiling with a big grin on his face. But that's awesome. I do have Daniel's follow-up question. Giver's gain, baby. That's awesome.
On the bookshelf.
Let me shout out Dylan real quick. He had some feedback for you when you were going through that whole model there. And here's an experience that he had. He was able to sign up a seller yesterday for 3 properties. 1 he's closing, 1 he's going to clean up and flip, 2 advertising for an assignment fee, and then the 3rd one he's listing a personal home for retail sale. Dylan, great stuff. I'm sure Greg is happy to see that.
Perfect. That's it. I mean, I'm not here to try to sell you guys on getting your real estate license, but that's exactly why, it allows you to do a lot more, guys, by having your license or being a part of a brokerage. I think I shared it at the mastermind. If not, I'll share it now. I think I read a statistic that it's either 88 or 98%. I'm pretty sure it's 88%. But guys, 88% of all real estate transactions across the country are done with a real estate agent. The other 12% are done through off-market stuff or for sale by owner. Okay. But a bigger part of that is more for sale by owner than it is wholesalers. So my thing is, guys, we as investors are going after the smallest sliver of the pie, but we have just as much competition, if not more sometimes in different areas for that 12%. If I could, I might even be wrong. It might be 98%. I might have to go look that up before and put this in the comments later. But guys, we're all fighting over that small sliver of the pie. Why not diversify and go after the 88% as well? And then you can hit all aspects of it. Just saying, it's just something you guys should think about. I'm not saying you guys should go get your license by any means, but think about that. As long, and the caveat to that is just like what who was it that had that up there? I'm sorry, the
Dylan,
Dylan had that question or that statement. As long as you disclose that you're not going to be the buyer as a realtor, you're fine. It's all about disclosures. Everybody gets hung up on, oh my God, I'm a realtor, I can't assign a contract. Absolutely, you can. You just tell them, hey, I got a buyer that I'm going to assign my contract to, and boom, done. You're fine as long as you disclose that properly. So
awesome. And Daniel got his question back in. So in what ways do you provide value to a seller when they're referred to you? I think that's what he means by the question there, for providing value to a seller.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, gotcha. So we offer value in a lot of different ways, especially with us because we've diversified so well. So hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I'm going to make you a cash offer on this property no matter what. But having said that, we have a totally different business model than most people do. Not only do we offer you a cash solution because we are cash buyers ourselves, but if that number doesn't work for you, we're also going to provide you with a couple of different listing opportunities as well. We're going to say, hey, here's what you could list the property as is without you touching it. You might get a little bit more for the property than my cash offer, but don't forget, it might take a few months to do it. So you have holding costs you still have to pay every single month, such as your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, your utilities, all that stuff, your lawn maintenance, your pool service if you have it, whatever. Okay. Or now that we have a little bit of a small construction crew, we could say, hey, look, if you put 10 grand into the house, we could get you more money for it. Or you put $30,000 or $50,000 like I would do as the cash buyer, you could actually get this much for it. And so we actually had the perfect model of that happen just recently where this is where I love Investor Fuse. I'm definitely going to give Investor Fuse a plug on this one. Okay, so this lead came in August of 2016. We, through Investor Fuse, either the reminders to follow up or the automatic follow up through it, either or. I always kept in contact with this seller. I mean, just every couple of months, just always following up. And so one day I don't remember what it was, Carlos, but man, all of a sudden I got this memory in my head about her house. And so I shot her a text that said, hey, Ann, it's Greg from Out Fast. I was just wondering if you were still looking to sell your house. And she goes, oh my God, that's so crazy. I was just thinking about you again, because I've been following up with her for a year. This is back in October, November. I was just thinking about you. My tenant's lease is finally coming up and they're not going to renew this time. And so we're going to be selling the property. Boom. So then I said, great. Can I call you right now? I'd like to talk to you about a couple things. She's like, yeah, sure. So I call her and I say, hey, Ann, I want to tell you, look, I know that you came to my website as looking for a cash deal, but I want to tell you our model has changed quite a bit since the last time we actually spoke. So we actually own a real estate brokerage now. We do all this stuff, all the construction stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'd love to set an appointment with you, my acquisitions manager, and one of my listing agents in the next couple of days. When can we come meet? And I think Xenia was on here. I'm not sure if she's still on or not. She was my listing agent that came out with me. And so we went and looked at the property, and we made her 4 different offers. We made her a cash offer. We made her a listing offer with her putting like $5 grand into the property. We made her a listing offer if she was to put, I think, 20 grand into it, and then one with 40 grand. And I was no hard pressure. And basically she came back with, we're going to do the $5,000 renovation, which was basically just paint inside, paint outside, some landscaping and a few other things. We ended up doing a couple other smaller things for her as a change order. But she ended up putting about $6,400, I think, all into that property. And she listed it up. We gave her a listing price of $199. Xenia sold it within just like about a week or two on the market for $200,000. That's what we provide the seller. We told them exactly how much they would spend on the renovation. We told them how much they should list it for. And that's exactly what they got for it. So that woman and her husband are going to be a walking testimonial for Out Fast Realty, Out Fast Construction, and everything. And it was just that simple because we had different ways to offer her to get her out of her situation and get her out fast.
That's awesome, man. Being ethical and providing value can go a huge way in this business. I'm sure, in all businesses. And I think when I see companies doing that, like how you did with the 4 different offers that you made in person there, I think that's a great way in general to separate yourself from other wholesalers or investors that are going to see the property. You're making offers over the phone, via email, whatever. the seller gives them to the warm and fuzzies, so to speak, if you're offering them different terms. So that's also something to touch on as well. Awesome. We got a few questions coming in here. Let me go to Hector. He has some questions on the contract. This is probably something that you could answer quickly.
Okay.
So Hector wants to know, do you use a normal residential contract as is contract, or did you have an attorney create one specifically for wholesaling that's simplified?
Awesome question, Hector. Thank you for asking that one. I actually did one of my latest podcast episodes on contracts. I would say 95% of the time use the Florida FAR Bar residential as is contract. Every once in a blue moon, though, we will use our 2-page contract. It's actually the same contract that the property mob has given me. So we use that 2-pager if we read the seller and the seller, we think that because in Florida our realtor as is contract is 12 pages. So we kind of read our sellers sometimes, and if we feel like they're going to get inundated or it's going to overwhelm them on a 12-page contract, we might just give them the 2-page contract. It says the same stuff, guys. It's just simplified. So it very rarely will be that contract, but it will vary. But I mean, one of the biggest deals we just did a couple weeks or about a month ago, we used the 2-page contract, and it worked out fine. And that's a quick story, actually. I'll tell you that. So when I went to that appointment with that seller, actually Jeremy came with me because we gave him an offer for the cash price. We gave him an offer to list it as well, and they didn't want to list it. They just wanted the cash. They did not. It was an inherited property, so they didn't want to list it. They just wanted to be done with it so they can close everything out with the estate. And long story short, I told Evan, I was like, hey Evan, I promise you I'll get you a contract later tonight, because we worked. It was actually like a week later we followed up with him, and then he was like, I really like you guys. I really want to do business with you guys. Can you send me a contract? And I said, absolutely. I'll have you a contract today. And so I was the hustle and bustle of the day. I was like walking out the door of the office to go to dinner with some friends with my wife, and I go, holy shit, I forgot to send Evan a contract. So I literally pulled up my phone. I went into Podio, typed in the terms of the contract, and hit send, which we have our 2-page contract in Investor Fuse, and was able to send him the 2-page contract like that instantly. And he called me the next day or whatever it was and was like, hey, I got an offer of I think it was $1,250 more than you guys, but I really want to do business with you. Plus, I really liked your 2-page contract versus the 12-page realtor contract that he got from one of the Homevestors franchises we were going up against. And he's like, as long as you guys can match their price, you got the deal. I was like, okay, $1,250 to turn around and make over 25 grand. So that was just by pure luck, because we don't have the realtor contract in Investor Fuse. It's too much programming. We just got lucky on that one. I surely was going to send him the 12-page realtor contract too, but it just worked out better that the 2-pager worked. So I hope that answers that question. We just read our sellers sometimes, guys, and you just base it off that. But again, I'm not a realtor, so it doesn't matter for me. But anything our realtors touch, guys, they use the FAR Bar, no questions asked.
Yeah, and that's you kind of just touched on that with the different offer types. What Daniel was saying, are all offers cash? No, you have different options to list.
Mm-hmm. And you guys can also, if you guys don't have a brokerage, that's fine. But maybe you guys should read up on like Ron LeGrand's term stuff or Joe McCall's term stuff. You can learn, lease options and subject twos and owner financing. We don't do a ton of that right now because the market is so hot. It's a little, excuse me, guys. It's a little tough for us to find subject twos in Tampa because the market is so hot that rarely do people get in that situation now. But when the market corrects itself, whenever that happens, we'll be jumping back into the subject twos and the lease options and owner financing stuff down the road. But that's just not our model.
Gotcha. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, Victor, he's in Washington State. He kind of just had a comment here as you were going, not necessarily a question, but he said he's more so getting into that model too of adding other exit strategies to his tool belt instead of just wholesaling. And I've definitely seen that where people are getting money. Yeah, people are doing like the wholetail where you may put a little bit of money. You take a property down yourself, or with funding, you put a little bit of money on it, and then you can list it on the MLS.
Yep, that's what we're doing on one of our referral deals, the one that my dad brought in. We're going to buy it. We're going to lipstick it, clean it up, maybe do some landscaping on it, get it, and just relist it.
Very cool, man. Yeah, getting a lot of value here, a lot of good feedback. Joe T, spot on, brother. Give them options, and they are less likely to seek other options. Spot on with the referral-based marketing. Yeah, man. Your cost per deal is going to be so much lower if you focus on that long-term play, getting leads for free coming to you. And also, it's something good to touch on too. Sellers, with so many wholesalers out there going after that 12 or 2% that you mentioned earlier in the interview here, you need ways to differentiate yourself from the competition. And I think that's just a great way if you're able to offer them more than just a cash offer. Because what do you think the average is? I've heard different numbers of if someone goes to your website, they may be talking to 4 other investors or filling out 4 other web forms. So if that's the case, it's time is of the essence. Yeah, time is of the essence. Credibility is of the essence. Being of the essence. So you really honed in on that.
Trying to see if I can find really quickly on Google that statistic.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to pull up. I think I saw it was 4 or 5. If a seller lead,
I'm talking about the how many percentage are done through realtors versus done through off market.
Gotcha.
I can't find it though. I'll find it later, guys.
Gotcha. OJ has a great question, very accurate, saying, Greg, killing it, man. What types of lead gen are you doing? Again, guys, if you're just checking in here, all do some do it all. We are on with Greg Simpson, CEO, Outfast Realty Investments. He co-owns TB RIA. He's also a podcast host. He started a construction company. It seems like he does he must have more than 24 hours in a day because he does a ton of stuff.
You see the bags under my eyes?
But he's breaking down kind of how he got into real estate. Feel free to ask questions here in the comments. We've been trying to get to them. We're about 30 minutes here into this live interview. Feel free to ask questions. We can bring it on live. Greg, a real estate expert in Tampa, Florida, will do his best to answer.
Yeah, so
the long-term play. And now OJ has a question about lead gen, which we touched on a little bit, but feel free to answer that how you'd like, Greg.
So the types of lead gen we are doing, again, first and foremost, I'm getting some feedback, Carlos. Are you getting that?
Yeah, a little bit. Let's see here.
I think it's gone now. I think we're good.
Okay.
So the main lead gen that we're doing is, like I said earlier, is referral-based marketing through social media more so than anything. Live videos are where it's at. I don't care what you guys do on Facebook or, that's why Snapchat and Instagram and all these platforms are so powerful because of video. People don't want to read your shit anymore. They want to have it at their fingertips to watch a quick video, to learn who you are, what you do, why you do it, and again, how you can help them. So referral-based marketing, again, is awesome because you get to answer their questions before they even realize they have a question because you're giving them so much value up ahead. So that's why we do so much video content. We actually built a media room here at our office so that way we could record videos in front of a white screen or a green screen so that we could be like, hey, if a topic popped in our head and we want to have a blog or video blog post done about it, we just stop what we're doing. We go run in the room, we hook all the microphones and the cameras up, and bam, we do a 2-3 minute video on a specific topic. We can release that out there. We could do a live video if we wanted to. There's just so many different ways you guys can use social media to your benefit. And again, if you are a realtor on here and you're not using social media, shame on you. Like literally, shame on you. You should be disgusted with yourself that you're not doing live videos, because I'm telling you what, people love real estate. They love the what they see on TV. Everybody loves Chip and Joanna. They love all those shows, and they want to be engaged with someone locally that's doing what those people do, because they all want to be a part of that. So if you can provide them some value locally, you're gonna be the person they think of most. So OJ, that's like our number one lead gen right now. I mean, we get Jeremy and myself, we get tagged on all sorts of different stuff all over Facebook locally because people is like, hey, I need this, hey, I need that. And it's like, oh, Jeremy Cloder, he's the go-to realtor for that. Or Greg, he's the go-to buyer for that, or whatever the case is. And we just get tagged and we get leads and we get referrals all the way, all the time through that. So that's literally our number one marketing strategy. It's not Facebook ads. It's not Snapchat ads. It's not Instagram ads. It's literally legitimate content that we produce. We do direct mail. We do very little right now. We do go after probates, inherited houses. We do go after some pre-foreclosures, and we go after traditional high equity vacant houses as well. We go after evictions. Evictions are good too. We actually also go after Section 8. I don't know if you guys have a website. If GoSection8.com is national, but GoSection 8 is a great one because those are landlords that are putting their houses up for rent, and either A, they're going to be possible buyers for you, or maybe they're just ready to get rid of that shitty rental that they've got, and bam. So we have a virtual assistant go in and tag those Go Section 8 leads all the time. We still do Craigslist. Craigslist gets us a lot of buyer leads every single day. I think we get like 3 or 4 buyer leads a day, maybe more on Craigslist. Actually, probably more than that. I don't even really know the statistics on that. That's kind of what Ian handles for us. But that's kind of like the lead gen that we're doing, and most of it.
That's awesome, man. So one thing, just to recap on that, I want to clarify, Greg is really utilizing the free social media channels. He may be doing some ads too, but those are 2 separate things where you're paying for Facebook ads or paying a digital marketing firm to run your ads campaigns for you versus just doing a Facebook post. Like if you go on facebook.com and write a post or have some type of automated way to do those free posts. Powerful stuff there. Let's see.
Just real quick, OJ, we're getting ready to work with the guys. Oh, that's exactly who I'm talking about. I was going to say, we're getting ready to sign up with Bilbro and Kasim to do our Google pay-per-click in the next month or so. We actually have like 2 or 3 rehabs that we have right now. So we're honestly just a little cash strapped right now to like throw the kind of money we need at pay-per-click. But we have 2 properties that one closes like this week or next week. Actually, I have another one that closes next week, and then we have a third one that will be going live on the market like early next week too. So as soon as we free up all that cash, we're like taking all that money that we're profiting on, and we're throwing it right back into marketing via mostly through Kevin and the guys over at GeoFlip.
Very cool. Yeah, and Bilbro, when we're talking about cost per deal referrals and stuff, I know there's one guy in the Phoenix, Arizona market whose cost per deal he talks about is just absurdly low because he's almost similar to you in the sense that his deals come from referrals. Cool. We got some other questions that came in here. Kevin, thank you for that.
Yeah, that's funny. I was just going to say that.
Let me see here. Oh, here's the question I want to pull up for Hector. So this is something market specific for you, Greg. Hector wants to know, have you noticed a change in the Tampa area with oversaturation of newer investors putting absurd/high offers? I feel like I know the answer to this, but go ahead.
Of course. Hector, you nailed it, man. That's why the wholesaling has become a lot harder to do, especially like before you could even wholesale on the MLS. And we still do it, guys, but it's like we are putting in dozens and dozens and dozens of offers before we even get one countered, let alone get one accepted. So yes, the problem with, I think the caveat to Hector's statement or question there, oversaturation of new investors, pulling observed high offers on properties. A lot of these people that are considering themselves investors have never flipped a house, and that's fine. I get it. We're there at one point, but like they're being told by third parties, whether that's a guru or it's some other these real estate agents that have never flipped a house. I think one of the problems I think that bothers me the most about real estate agents sometimes is they're not educated on what things actually cost here in Florida. You know, someone's like, "Oh, a roof can be done for $4,000." Bull. I don't think there's a house in Tampa you can get done for $4,000 on a roof nowadays. I mean, the average roof cost now is at least $5,000 to $6,000. And so like all these little things start adding up. And so when they get told, oh, the rehab's 25, 30 grand, and I'm going looking at the property, I'm going, it's more like 50 grand. That changes the numbers because I've actually rehabbed enough houses in my day to be able to walk in and go, no freaking way. And so I've absolutely seen that change, and it's been going on since I even got in the market. It's just gotten higher and higher and higher. And then no offense to Than Merrill and those guys, I think they're awesome. I really do. But their advertisement is all over the radio right now. It's everywhere. They're coming back in town, and it means there are going to be even more people doing this here very shortly. And not that those guys are wrong by any means, but it's definitely happening quite a bit here in Florida. And that's why, again, going back to the referral based marketing, whether that's, going to BNI or going to your local RIA or whatever the networking opportunities you find and you do are going to separate you from having to go after those sellers in the MLS or direct mail, because people don't know what they're doing. And it only hurts the guys like me and like some of my colleagues that are the legitimate investors that are having a hard time finding really good fix and flip deals. I mean, shoot, most of our deals we're having a buyer between 75 and 80% of ARV minus repairs. And that just scares the shit out of me, because if we have one or two things go wrong in a rehab, which we typically do, our numbers go from here to here, and then we're just treading water. Or what'll happen is if the market shifts at all, you're left holding the bag when you're buying at those prices. So I still to this day pass on way more deals than we purchase or we wholesale, because the numbers just don't make sense.
Pass on them, like don't even touch them?
Don't even touch them. Yeah. I'll let somebody else take that huge risk, because, we have money that we use. We also have private money that we have access to. And I'm not about to go out there and lose somebody's money that's not mine. Like, I've had to sacrifice my own profits on deals to make sure that the investors were whole on the transaction. So, I don't play that game. So like, I'd rather pass on a deal than take the risk of losing somebody's money that's their hard-earned retirement or just their hard-earned cash.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Hector had a little follow-up here, and this could be some of the newer investors that are locking up a property with a seller for too high, and then they can't find an end buyer, so they end up just, defaulting on the contract or whatever.
Yeah, so let me touch on that. That's a great point, Hector, and it's very freaking true, and it's very frustrating, because that what all that does is it gives investors a bad name in the marketplace, right? Oh, those investors just have to screw people trying to steal their houses, or they don't perform, and it just makes us look bad. So no matter what, if say I'm even going to keep following up with that seller that took a higher offer than mine, very rarely will sellers come back to you with their tail between their legs and say, yeah, you were right, they couldn't close, I'll sell it to you now for your lower price. They rarely do that. Every once in a while, because of investor fees, and we keep following up with our offers sent, we might get one pop here and there, but you have to just do a better job explaining the numbers to the sellers. I mean, you literally have to just sit there and keep hashing it over and over and over again, explain them. There's no way that person can close at that price. I mean, I've won more deals by going, can you tell me where they're making a profit at this number? I really will. I'll bring my comps and go, you see these 3 or 4 properties here that sold? This is what your house is worth if it was to be fixed up and they're pretty like this one, okay? But your house isn't that way, and I'm going to have to put $50,000 into your house to make it that way. Now, I've got overhead, I've got an office, I've got staff, I've got this, I've got to put food on my plate, I've got to make money too. So if I'm going to make 20, 30 grand on your property, you agree that 20 grand, 30 grand is fair? I can say, yes, it's fair, whatever. I go, okay, then if that's the case, then this is where I have to be at. Do you agree? Because I'm paying realtor commissions on the back end, so on and so forth. So using the seller net sheet, right? Or whatever you're going to use in that way. And it lays it straight out for them. If someone comes in and offers them a higher number, they're going to go, well, that person's only going to make 10 grand on the deal. That doesn't make any sense. And so they'll start to think about that a little bit. But, you can only do so much with educating the sellers. They're going to try and get the best price for themselves, and rightfully so. But that's where, again, it's nice to have that realtor or the agent part of the business too. But yeah, it's bad, man. It's really bad with these wholesalers that are coming in and saying they can rehab that house for 25 grand. They're sending it out there to the masses, and there's just no way that house can get done. I'll give you a quick example. There was a house that was sent out, what's today, Wednesday? Last week in Valrico here, really great area, 5,200 square foot house, massive house. I mean, massive freaking house, needs everything. Rehab estimate, 50 grand. More like $150,000. I'm not kidding you. Like, I looked at, they did a really great job and provided a lot of pictures in this, but a all new kitchen, all new bathrooms, all new flooring, all new literally everything, dude. And there is no way that you can get that done for $50,000. That's only that's only $10 per square foot of a renovation. It's not even, because it's a little over 5,000 square foot. That's literally paint, and that's literally maybe replacing some carpet in the house and stuff like that. Like 50 grand doesn't go very far in a 5,200 square foot house. So there's no way that person is going to close on that property, or no way anyone's going to close on that property, because the numbers are not there. And I mean, that's right there. It's just like, I don't know. That just frustrates me, because that seller, I'll talk about that in a second. But I mean, yeah, I'll touch on it now actually. So one thing we teach in our wholesale class, and I teach at our RIA all the time, or I talk about. I wish that wholesalers, whether they're new or experienced, when you're going in to meet with the seller, I wish you guys would walk in there like you had a gun to the back of your head. They can't see it, but there's a gun to the back of your head, and that gun to the back of your head said that you have to close on this property. So negotiate it to where you would close on it yourself. Because if you can't close on it yourself, there's a psychological aspect of the wholesale or the transaction when they sign that contract with you or any other wholesaler, that in their mind, that house is sold, it's done, they've already cashed the damn check. So two things that I hate that what happens is you either back out and now they're left with, oh shit, now I have to start all over again. And they're not going to an investor. And now they're going to go somewhere else because they've got a bad taste in their mouth. So it ruins it for all of us. And the second thing is you just put a seller in a bind big time. And either you're canceling or you're having to renegotiate. And now that seller feels super, super slighted. Now I'm not going to sit up here and preach to you guys that I have never had to go back and renegotiate a price on a house. Of course I have. But that happens like maybe 1%, 2% of all the transactions I've ever done. I've either gotten a small price reduction, or B, I just reduced my wholesale fee to make sure that the deal didn't go sideways or south. I just wish that all these new wholesalers walked into a house like, oh shit, I better be right on my numbers, because if I have to close on this house and do the numbers myself, and I need to make money myself. And I wish that was the mentality that more wholesalers have, because it's the mentality you have to have. Because again, we're, as much as we're in the business of making a bunch of money and all that stuff, we're still in the service business. We are servicing that client by getting them out of that house or out of that situation that they're in with that house. And if you disrupt that, you're never going to get a referral from that person. You're never going to get them to give you a 5-star review on Google or Facebook. You're just shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go. You're better off walking away from a deal than you are to put it under contract for the wrong price and then not be able to sell it, or have to go back and get a massive price reduction like that person's going to have to do on that Valrico house. And it's just what I've seen over the years. So it's really frustrating. And we see it almost every day, and it really sucks. So.
Yeah, man. And this segues into Nathan's question here, as far as like a newer wholesaler or a wholesaler that's not great at analyzing comps and things like that. Do you see it on the retail side with agents as well, giving unrealistically high prices? Hey, I can list your house for X amount over what it's worth, and they're taking deals by the investors there?
Yes and no. Here's the thing, guys. I don't know. I don't really deal on the retail side too much, so I don't want to speak to this too much. However, here's the thing, guys. Sellers go to Zillow too much, or they go to Redfin or Realtor.com, and they give these little Zestimates or whatever. So they think their house is obviously automatically worth more than it is. So they have this number in their mind. So, I don't even think it's necessarily the realtors giving them unrealistically high prices. I think it's a little bit of both. But Nathan, I think a lot of it has to do with the overload of information that they're getting on Google and wherever the sources are. So it is the job of the realtor to help bring them back down to reality, but you also don't want to insult them too much. So realtors live on that fine line of what they can and can't do, or what they should and shouldn't do. Because no matter what, when we have clients that are our investor clients that we sell their properties for, and they want to list it for what they want to list it for, and we're like, well, we don't think it's going to sell for that, but hey, if you want to list it for 10 grand, 20 grand more than what we think you're going to sell it for, then by all means do it. But we're not the ones going to be left on at the end of the day. We're not the ones holding that house for an extra month or two until they drop the price down. So I don't want to say that the realtors are the problems. I think it's maybe a combination of the two, realistically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely part of being in the information age, or the connected age, that sellers are becoming more savvy now. It could be misinformation with Zillow, obviously, but they're more savvy in the sense that they have more information available to them at their house, just right on their phone, or easily looked up on the computer.
And that's just an objection you guys have to learn to do as agents, or agents have to, whether you're an agent or not. If you're an agent, you have to learn that. But if you guys are looking to wholesale, and they're going up against an agent that says they can list it for more, I go, well, ask if the listing agent would buy it for that price then. put them on the spot. Ask them, hey, call the listing agent right now. Ask them why they're not buying it for that price right now. If it's such a good deal, ask them why they're not buying it for that price. You know, if you're going up against an agent where the agent, ARV is, or the as is value is 200 grand, and the agent's telling them, I could list this house for 275 for you, 250, because it's worth 325 or whatever the numbers would work out to be, that then it looks like a good deal to the realtor. Ask the realtor why they're not buying it. And it kind of like makes them, it just does a little bit of a mindset shift for that seller. So
yeah, that's a great nugget. That's some John Martinez sales.
Yeah.
You and your team signed up for him or no? The John Martinez? Yeah, that's awesome. We've heard a lot of great feedback. A lot of Investor Fuse members signed up for his
such good stuff, guys. It's just like amazing stuff.
That's awesome.
You think you're a good negotiator, and then you go to John's stuff and you're like, oh shit, I suck. And it's affordable. I mean, it's not expensive.
Yeah, man. Well, to put that in the notes afterwards for anybody who's looking to get themselves and or their team trained for these negotiations, because talk about cost per deal. If you invest, whatever that is for John's course, and you're able to negotiate on average, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 per deal, $500, $1,000 per deal, that's going to help your cost per deal and net and gross revenue at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Cool. So we have one question here. This is inside from the Investor Fuse team. And this is kind of something we've overarchingly been talking about. What are revenue generating activities? And for Greg, if you guys are just joining us, this is Greg Simpson, CEO of Outfast Realty and Investments.
That's
he has the chart. He has the chart right there. I hope Dan is watching. But Greg is talking about how powerful it is as a long-term play to being established in his market as the go-to guy. He uses free mediums like Facebook and other social media. He co-owns a local RIA. He started and he gets his name out there and some of the highest leverage activities he can be doing. And it's just going to trickle down in value for him and his team. But I'll let you expand on this question here. What do revenue generating activities mean to you?
So anything that you guys can do that actually generate revenue is an activity that you can do. So like, I love the chart that Dan put together for us. We all, especially you guys are brand new and you're learning to do this stuff. The things that you are doing, like pulling lists and scrubbing lists, that is not going to generate revenue for you. Like as you're sitting there doing it, that's not generating any revenue for you. You're working for $5 to $10 an hour, because my virtual assistant out of the Philippines for $6 an hour gets all of our lists for us. She scrubs them, she puts them together, and then hands them over to our marketing department. That is not, if I was doing that, that is not generating me any revenue, period. None, zero. If I am out there, if I was like the one putting together the Facebook ads that we do run, not revenue generating for me at that point. The revenue generating activities that I do are doing stuff like this, doing Facebook Lives, going out and actually looking at properties, putting offers on properties, things that actually generate the revenue. So making offers, looking at properties, negotiating, building relationships with lenders, building relationships with referral partners such as title companies and mortgage brokers, and those kind of people that help level up. Those are revenue generating activities that I do, Jeremy does, and Bill does. There's the things that we get. The things that are not revenue generating activities are those things we all call minutia. Those are those little things that come up every day, like answering your emails. I'll be honest, I'm one of the worst person at their emails. I'm in my inbox all the time. And that's just something I got to get better at. But having said that, I do make a lot of money through my email, because believe it or not, you can close a lot of deals and put out fires through emails that can save deals and stuff like that. But overall, I still spend too much time in my inbox. I am still too much on Facebook. I know Dan's probably going to get on me about having the Facebook app still on my phone, and also not having Freedom implemented on my phone all the way through. But those are the things that you can actually physically do that can almost instantly generate revenue for your company. Those are the only revenue generating activities you guys should be doing. Everything else you should be subbing out to someone else, whether that's a virtual assistant or someone in your office. I mean, there's a saying that Ron LeGrand does, is the less I do, the more I make. And that's it. That's it, guys. I hope that
Awesome.
answers Investor Fusion's question.
Yeah, man. Great answer there. Love seeing the 80-20 chart. We live and breathe by that. That's awesome. So Victor, he has a longer kind of detailed. Let's see here. All right, let me throw this up and see if you can read all of this. Give me 1 second here. This might be too long to put on here. Hold on. The comment's not showing up, but Victor said he wants to speak to the comment you made of purchasing the house. A good wholesaler will give their best estimate, but a great wholesaler will tell the buyer to complete their own different don't run their project, and I don't know their exit strategy. Victor says his typical wholesale is about 20 to 30 initial interested buyers, and then it trickles down to 5 to 10 that actually will come and visit the property, and then 2 or 3 actual offers made on the property. He says, I hope that shows that a wholesaler can't take responsibility for the due diligence of a cash buyer / flipper. That's a great point.
I agree with that 100%, Victor, 100%. But what I'm saying is, going back, I think this is what you're referring to is me talking about how the rehab numbers need to be spot on. They don't have to be exact by any means, because again, like you said, every investor has their different exit strategy. What we do a little bit different. Like we say, hey, if you're going to turn this into a rental, it's going to be between this and this for the rehab. If you're going to fix and flip it, it's going to be between these numbers, because it changes, because I might put nicer finishes in my rehab than somebody next door. Okay. And, some rental guy might be, I hate to say it, but a slumlord. It might, not do any repairs and still go put a tenant in the house. So, the repair numbers are subjective. Like, that's everybody has their different model. So we don't give, hey, it's exactly $45,000 and that's what you're going to be held to, because we're not liable either, whether we're agents or not. We're giving a range and we can't see everything. All of our stuff is buyer to do their own due diligence. We're not there. We can't be held liable either. So it's a great point, Victor, because it's not your job to do all the due diligence. It's yours to do enough due diligence to help the buyer make a quicker decision. It's their job to go out there, take a look at the property and see if it works for them, like you said. So yeah, you're absolutely spot on with that. I don't disagree at all.
Very cool. A couple quick questions for you, Greg. Yeah. One from Daniel again. Is there a VA company that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Guys, I'm a big Property Mob subscriber. I have been since almost day one. I think Tracy Kaywood has the best virtual assistants in the business. They are fully trained on the real estate wholesale business. Guys, they're freaking awesome. We have one right now. Her name is Eileen, and she is just a rock star. I don't really interact with her on a daily basis. That's more Ian. Ian handles her, and because she does a lot of the back-end marketing and some of the smaller operations for us, like pulling lists and so on and so forth. But like he tells me all the time that she's a rock star. We pay her $5.95 an hour, and we do minimum 20 hours a week with her per our contract with the Property Mob. And guys, it's a steal. And she can do a lot more. She can do a lot more than what we have her do. But we've you guys have heard of Gary Keller's The One Thing, or you've ever heard the phrase keeping the main thing the main thing. We have her doing very specific tasks. We have a virtual assistant that we hired off of Flex Jobs. All she does is make cold calls for us in different avenues. We have different buckets for each role as virtual assistants. We have a virtual assistant who is our initial lead screener and follow-upper, I guess you'd say. And that's all she does. Like we compartmentalize our virtual assistants so they're not overwhelmed. And so I suggest you do that too. Maybe if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then her VAs are very, very good. But that's who I recommend is the Property Mob. They're freaking awesome. I've yet to have a bad virtual assistant from them. We just, things change and you change over. I mean, I think our average lifespan of a Property Mob VA is over a year. And that's really good for any employee. I mean, whether it's a virtual one or not, I mean, having an employee for a year is really, really good in this business anyway, especially for virtual.
That's awesome for sure. Daniel Vera and Daniel Eisman, the company is the Property Mob, MOB, like the Godfather. And that's Tracy. What's her last name? Tracy's last name?
Okay, with CAYWOOD.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely check that out. The Property Mob, MOB. And then Ed has more of like a metrics type question, KPI type question for you, for just you running the business. He says, how many properties do you review per week, and how many do you submit per week?
You were breaking up really bad, Carlos, and I didn't hear any of the question.
You're good. Ed, cut me off again if you can't hear it. Ed wants to know how many properties you review per week and how many offers do you submit per week?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't make all the offers, guys. Can you just bear with me for a minute, and I'll tell you if hopefully I can pull this up really, really quickly.
Yeah, take your time.
Not it. Hang on, guys. I should have this open somewhere here. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me.
While you're waiting for that, Raphael asked, the app is called Freedom.2, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put that on your phone, laptop, and it will actually help block apps that you don't want to check during the day. If you don't want to check Facebook on your phone during the day or Instagram, something like that, Freedom.2. Our CEO, Dan Schwartz, highly recommends that. So check that out, Raphael.
So it's not updated to this date, but let me give you some numbers that we had. Through January, we made a total of like 30 offers. But let's see how many. Let me see if I can pull these numbers up, guys. I have to get with my virtual assistant. Hasn't filled this out all the way. How many do I review though, guys? It's a lot. I'm gonna give you a number. I probably look at least 30 properties a week, whether they're brought through wholesalers, whether they come through our leads. It's got to be more than that because we've got a ton of leads working right now. I don't look at every single one. The ones I look at, guys, are the ones that we are actually under contract on at that point. I'm not looking at until our acquisitions guys get it under contract. I'm not usually looking at reviewing the numbers. But as of right now, myself, I'm still doing about 1 or 2 deals a week because I still jump in here and there. I can't pull myself out of doing acquisitions sometimes. I just jump in sometimes where I'm just like, I feel like that's a great deal and I want to run with it. So I'm working on, I think, two right now that we're like this close to getting an offer accepted. So here's the cool thing, guys. Because of John Martinez and a couple other, through, again, Property Mob, Tracy's great at negotiating too. She has a lot of great stuff on negotiating with sellers. Very rarely do I actually get in front of a seller and make them an actual offer and don't get it accepted. It's rare. It's very rare. So that's why, like I said, I still jump in every once in a while, but I'm not in front of the sellers every time because not all of them are super. I usually go after the ones that are like the top dog motivated ones. I just love dealing with the super highly motivated ones, and our acquisitions guys deal with the ones that need a little bit more nurturing. If that makes sense. So,
absolutely.
I look at tons of deals every week from wholesalers too. I mean, that's something I review. It's hard to say how many I review because every week is totally different. Because some weeks we get 10 properties to review from wholesalers, and sometimes we get like 30, and it is what it is.
Absolutely. And that kind of makes me think of just a mindset, or I guess where you're at in your company. Because I see both ends of the spectrum with just Investor Fuse members and companies of the thought of sending every single lead an offer versus kind of keeping that offer in your back pocket and only sending that to the super or highly motivated ones that you think there's a chance that they would accept it while you're proposing the offer. And for you, it's kind of a different bullet point of business structure where the CEO and head operator, he's working with the most motivated leads. And then you have people under you in your company that are working with that other tier, maybe like the warm, not as motivated leads. So kind of two different points, but that's what came to mind.
Yeah, and like the cold/warm ones, those are pretty much going to get put over to the listing agents because they take time to nurture. Because a lot of leads we get, on like some of the vacant ones we get, there's definitely some very warm ones in there, some really hot ones in there. But the ones that we get more so are like we're thinking about selling. We're probably looking to sell in 3 to 6 months. Well, that's still a good lead. They've told us, hey, we still want to sell, but we're just not sure when. So that's why I freaking love InvestorFuse. They go into one of our custom, follow-up sequencers that you guys help us build, and they just go into a cold lead follow-up on the retail side. So they get their emails and text messages. They are geared towards the listing side, and we don't touch it until all of a sudden they go, oh, yeah, we're ready to go now. Just kind of like that lead I talked about earlier about how we just followed up with her from August 2016 until we got her under a listing agreement in October of 2017. So it was over a year plus of follow-up with her. And it's just the way it works. And so, the fortunes in the follow-up, I think we have, I don't even know how many leads we have in there, but they're all in some sort of a follow-up system if they're not currently being offered on. So it's a beautiful thing. And they will eventually pop, they eventually will sell up to somebody, right? That's why InvestorFuse is no lead left behind.
Absolutely, man. And a point we were talking on earlier was ways to differ competition. So say that lead fills out 6 web forms on 6 different websites for the Tampa market. If you're the only one, and they say they want to sell in 3 to 6 months, if you're the only one that's following up with them in 3 to 6 months, or you're only one of 2 out of those 6 web forms they signed up, your competition is, they have a huge leg down from you who's following up with them, and you're staying top of mind with them. So that's just another thing to think about with following up leads, how important that is. Awesome. We have a few questions that came in. Here's one from Daniel on the VAs, kind of backtracking to the virtual assistants.
That's correct. He's absolutely, we compartmentalize the VAs. We have different VAs doing different tasks. Again, like I said, we have one. She does like a lot of the back end stuff, the Craigslist postings. She does a lot of the deal marketing. If you guys have InvestorFuse, she does a lot of the deal marketing app stuff for us, sending email blasts out, stuff like that. And then we have one VA that literally does our lead qualification. And then she also does our lead follow-up. So like she is guide. Oh my gosh, this woman, she's not a property mob VA. We got her through another vehicle. Actually, it was our agent Ian brought her on when he came on with us. She's from Venezuela. My word, guys, she is like a follow-up machine. She uses InvestorFuse like I've never seen anybody. I mean, she is just always on top of, like, that's her main job, is following up with the sellers and gauging their interest in selling. We have another virtual assistant that we got off Flex Jobs. We were looking for an American virtual assistant to be a cold caller. So she's virtual. She's in Alabama. She's got a sweet Southern Belle accent. She is awesome, and she's really learning how to do the cold calling stuff for us. We're actually getting her ready to start cold calling agents as well, to like recruit them over to our brokerage. So yeah, they have their own tasks that they do rather than having one person do all of it. Because I tell you what, guys, what happens is they get bogged down too. They're human beings. Things get dropped. And so like the more you can take off their plate and they can focus on the few things that they can do, the better off they are. And we've found that has worked so much better than giving it to one person and letting them roll with everything. Because if you guys have been in this business, especially, we're here, then 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 here. The virtual assistant's no different, because when stuff starts flying, they're all over the place. If they're not locked in, focused on their specific role, they're getting pulled over here, then this thing over here is getting dropped instead of both things getting done at the same time. So it's just like any other job. If you go look at any other company in the world, look at Coca-Cola. Each person in that company has a specific role. They don't go over here and do HR if they're in sales, and sales doesn't do HR. And that's kind of how in my opinion, that's how you have to work your VAs too over time, is compartmentalizing them 100% of the way, or you're just going to end up losing your mind.
Yeah, man, that makes a ton of sense.
What you guys want to do is like let them fall off, or let a major task fall off because they were not focused on that big task, and they were focused on pulling leads when they should have been qualifying a seller lead. Oh my God, can you imagine that money that you could lose by having that person thinking that their task of doing list pulling is more important than dealing with a seller? No thanks. So
awesome. That makes a ton of sense. Pablo has a question for the property map. I know you're a huge advocate of their services, and Tracy, and you probably touched on this earlier. Guys, if you're just joining us or recently hopping in here, we're on with Greg Simpson, CEO, Outfast Realty Investments in Tampa. He's been dropping a ton of knowledge and giving a lot of personal insight to his business, everything he's doing here. So Pablo wants to know about the property mod. Do you recommend them for any other services or products they offer?
Yeah, so I've been a Property Mob subscriber since 2013. I think it was like early 2013. So I'm one of the I'm definitely not one of the founding members by any means, but been there with him a long time. What I love about Tracy is that she keeps it real. She's very much like me. We don't bullshit around. We do use the F bomb and the S bomb quite a bit. But Tracy also offers, like, if you're part of the mob, she has a secret Facebook group that's like a mastermind session, and she has members from all over the country that ask great questions, and we all sit there and we go, hey, this is what's working for me, this is what's not working for me. Jim Iorio, he's awesome. He drops a lot of great knowledge in there. We've watched him go from a guy that was like doing a couple deals a year to now he's doing multiple deals a month, and it's all through what Tracy taught him. So she has a lot of value just besides the virtual assistants. She has the mastermind, if you will. She has oh my gosh, I mean, she's a lot like Dan and you guys over at Investor Fuse, just always providing more and more value to their members and subscribers. Other things that she does, she has like what she calls monthly mob borgatas, which if you're a member of the mob, you get that for free. And what that is, it's like a 1-hour training video on anything. I mean, she's done videos on how to run Facebook ads, how to do retargeting ads, how to do negotiating, every little thing that you can think of. She's got like an hour-long video of that, of her just dropping knowledge bombs on it and all that stuff like that. So, yep, thanks, Tina. That's awesome. And the content alone is just outstanding. I've gotten Sean Terry stuff. I've done Kent Clothier stuff. I just like Property Mob better than everybody else. That's just my opinion, and that's just my preference. And so I drop Tracy's name every chance I get when people are trying to get started, or even just like taking their thing to the next level. She also has this program called The Key, which is like a one-on-one automation thing, where I think it's like 5 or 6 weeks. You work with her hands-on, and she basically will help you automate your entire business. And so that's a huge one as well. I haven't done that personally, but because I've used kind of Investor Fuse as that platform for myself, but I know several people that have taken it would love it as well. Yep, great coaching program. Oh yeah, Jeff, there you go. Yep, ask Steve. Steve's the man. He's part of that as well. I agree, Jeff, man. I would totally agree that you get way more than your money's worth on that out of Tracy's program.
Awesome. So yeah, Pablo, if you're seeing this, Jeff, what's up, Jeff, is mentioning the coaching program that they have. And it sounds like Greg and Jeff are both big advocates of Property Mob, as well as their coaching and everything they offer as far as education, networking, things like that. Pablo said, thank you for letting him know. Okay, let's open it up for some more questions, guys, and we can keep talking about what Greg wants to dive into. I'm seeing a few ones that came in that I want to get Greg's expertise on. So this is another one specifically for the Tampa market. Fred wants to know, and you touched on this a little bit. I think you said it's a little higher, unfortunately, now, but he wants to know, what percentage of ARV do you look for in the Tampa market?
So I tell all of our members at TB RIA, anyone that comes through our classes, I will buy anything at 75% of ARV minus the repairs. Anything. As long as like the numbers that you've given me are correct or I've verified. So I look for 75%. We are selling deals though to cash buyers, depending on their exit strategy, up to 80%. Sometimes I haven't personally sold anything over 80, but I know guys in this market are selling some deals at 82% of ARV, and I think that's just absolutely insane. But I know the competition. Excuse me. Energy drink. Has just gone up because there's just so much competition.
Those high ARV prices making you burp up a little bit.
Yeah, it makes me sick. No, but yeah, man, it's gotten so outrageous, and that's why, again, it goes back to the brokerage model, because our cash offers don't always work for everybody. So I'd rather pass that on to one of my agents than try to stretch myself too thin, because we have not had good luck with contractors here in Florida and Tampa Bay especially. So when you start buying at those prices, anything that goes wrong, your profit margin is gone or you're in the hole. So that's just
absolutely,
it's the truth, guys. Stop buying anything over 75%.
And do you think that's nationwide, or do you think Tampa could be kind of like, a prime example of that, like one of the markets that you're seeing that in?
Sure. I mean, again, it really comes down to the data. So if you guys have inventory that's 3 months or less, maybe buying at a little higher percentage is okay, because you're not going to have it sit on the market for a long period of time, which is great. Like, we are purchasing a house in Safety Harbor here, just across the bridge, at 78% of ARV, but we're talking being in and out in like a 2-week renovation and then a week on the market. So like, we're probably all in for no more than a month for the renovation and getting a house under contract. I'll pay a little bit more for that, but the numbers are tight. But at the same time, I'm not doing a full-on renovation, so there shouldn't be any poison pill type things come up where we're not opening up walls, we're not adding a bathroom, we're not adding square footage. Because when you start doing that, that's when things go really haywire. So if we can be in and out really, really fast on a renovation, we might pay a little bit more, but there had better be super low days on market. There literally is like, it's like 6 days on market, I think, in that little pocket of Safety Harbor. So like, we're going to get it done, list it, and it'll be sold within a week. So you have to you got to do your due diligence. Like, I think it was Victor was talking about, you got to do your due diligence, because a lot of guys would pass on that deal that are like myself. They're like, oh, I got to stick to 75%. But shit, if I can be out in 2 weeks on a renovation where we're just doing a kitchen, we're doing paint, we're doing a little bit of flooring, I think we're replacing one of the bathroom tiles and some minor stuff in there. So we'll be, boom, just in and out in just a few weeks, and a month all in, I'll take it. And then whatever it takes to get it to the closing table once we're under contract. I'll do that stuff all day if I'm only in it for a couple weeks, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Daniel, if you could expand on that question a little bit, I'm not sure if I fully understand that. What do you recommend for a new realtor? If you could expand on that, what way?
Yeah,
please. Kevin and Britt following up on it. This is more so a hiring. I'll go ahead and throw this up. So Kevin is asking, this is something you'd have a lot of expertise in building out a team. How do you find a good acquisitions talent, and what is the pay structure for them? Do you do something that's commission only, or some type of hybrid base plus commission, incentives, stuff like that?
Sure. So this is a great question. Finding good acquisitions talent and pay structure, a couple ways. How you find them? Referrals, one. We use ZipRecruiter as well. That's expensive as shit. Holy crap. It's like $375 a month. But we get some good talent through it. I did a phone interview with one guy this morning. Seems like he's going to be a really good fit for our acquisitions team. It's really tough to find good acquisitions. And we do acquisitions and sales, 2 separate roles on the investment side, but it's tough, man. It really is tough. Because, I almost want someone that's brand spanking new, that's just got their license on our side, because everyone that's acquisitions for us or sales is a licensed agent, and everybody that besides myself throughout the brokerage is licensed, so that way we can make sure that they get paid properly. So we're looking for new realtors that are hungry. That's one of the best ways. And we just posted on social media as well, asking for sales guys and acquisitions guys that we're looking to hire. The pay structure, right now, we are at a straight commission structure. We are bouncing the idea around of doing a small base, and then a smaller commission than what we're paying now. We really haven't decided. As of right now, for the last year and 3 months, we've done straight commission, which is tough for some people, because we all have bills to pay, and with the market being the way it is, if we're not getting a lot of acquisitions deals because they're turning into more listings, that's tough for them to keep feeding the beast, right? So we've gone back and forth. We're actually, as a group right now, determining, like me, Jeremy, and my dad are going to be working on how do we structure that to keep someone around a little bit longer, because there is turnover, and that's one of the problems, is that some months we have 3 or 4 deals, sometimes we have 6 or 7, and then sometimes we have 0. And so when you don't have that base structure or base salary, it's a little bit tough for retention purposes, but it's also a matter of cash flow on our side too. So we're bouncing the idea around, Kevin. I wish I had a better answer for you, but right now we're just doing commission only. But we may, like I said, may change that in the future. But finding it is definitely difficult. It's a percentage on the net profit of the deal, Britt. That's how we're doing the commission for them. It's not a set amount. It's really tough to do set amounts because you guys have all done it. You've done a wholesale deal and you only did $5,000. Well, if I was to pay a flat fee of $2,500 or $1,500, that left me with nothing if my acquisitions cost is roughly $3,000 to $5,000 per lead. I just shot myself in the foot. I'm paying somebody and I'm only making a small amount. So it's all based on the percentage because it's their job to negotiate the best possible deal on the front end on the acquisitions. And it's also their best in their best interest to negotiate the best price with the buyer on the back end. So it's all percentage based.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And that question is going to be different for different companies depending on where you're at.
For different markets too. It's going to be different for markets too because what's that?
How so for different markets?
So like if you guys go back and listen, I think I'm trying to think Bill Allen is one of your guys' clients too. I did a podcast with him. You guys go find that episode on flipping real estate like the pros.com. We talked about that, I believe, and he does a much smaller percentage than I do. Okay. And the reason being is he's not as a competitive market where the cost of living is also high. So that's another thing you guys have to think about too. Like we're in Tampa, the cost of living is not super high, but like I think Bill's in Kansas, or wherever Bill's at, or if you live in Kansas, the cost of living is obviously a lot lower than it is here in Tampa. So like if you were to give like our percentage is X, if he's like at like half of our percentage for acquisitions because the cost of living isn't as high there. So I hope that makes sense why it's going to vary on market. So I'm not going to share the percentage that I give out. And that's not because I'm trying to hide anything. It's because I don't want you to go based on what we do here in Tampa because you're going to have to figure that out in your own market. It's totally different. Like you go to New York City, guys, that cost of living there is just astronomical compared to Florida. So it's going to vary from market to market too on the percentage that you pay or the base salary too.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you like, oh, if you gave someone a base salary of $5,000, well, that's a lot of money here in Tampa every month. Where if you $5,000 up in New York City or even in San Diego where Dan's at, that's not a lot of money. It doesn't get you very far in those super, super high cost per living areas. So that's why I'm not going to share that number with you. It doesn't make any sense to.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You got to kind of listen to other people and see what makes sense for your team structure, how much revenue how much you're netting, cost of living.
I'll give you this tip though. Another guy, again, he was on my podcast. He's a really good dude. He's actually in the same building as me as Rafael Vargas. I met with him last week. His entire salary that he does as a company is 30% of his revenue on average. Most of the time it's 70% or 30% of their revenue. So if they do $10,000 a month in revenue, which is obviously really low, that they're paying out in salaries and everything's $3,000 a month. That's where you guys should really kind of keep your numbers at is 30% of your revenue should be where you are paying your acquisition, sales, admin, virtual assistants, all that stuff should be wrapped into that 30%. So that's what I learned from him. I thought it was a great number, and that's what we're working on in our business to kind of restructure a few things. So that's kind of what was good for what works for them. So hey, if it works for them, it can work for anybody.
Very cool. 30% of revenue is what you should be paying out, and the more that you have those VAs doing some of the tedious tasks, the more you can train them, make SOPs for them, things like that, the more you can afford to pay higher quality acquisitions and acquisitions that are longer they're going to have a better chance of retaining them for longer periods of time.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Britt, I would highly recommend, I have the site for Greg's podcast up here, Flipping Real Estate Like the Pros. I would definitely recommend checking out those two with Bill Allen, who is the man, and then Rafael Vargas. Does he work in your office?
No, he just happens to be in the same building as us. He's just upstairs on the third floor.
Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say I know the name sounds familiar. I didn't think he was with Outfast. Very cool.
No, he's not. Nope.
Gotcha. All right, everybody else. Let's see. We got some more comments coming in. That's a good question. I was thinking myself. Is that net or gross revenue for the 30%?
Gross revenue.
Gross. Okay. Gross revenue, Kevin. Good question.
Yep. It's because you have obviously to figure other expenses too. So your gross revenue, you say you make $100 million a year, over the course of that year, 30% of your costs for your staff essentially should be that 30%. You're going to figure out what percentage you're going to do for marketing to reinvest back into the company for marketing. Then you also have like other expenses as well, like other overhead. You got your office, you got your phones, you got your investor fees, you got all the other stuff that you're paying for every single month. It's going to be a set percentage. And then you have to figure out what your profit margins you want it to be at too. Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Is it 40%? Whatever you want to run at, it's all based on your gross revenue. So yeah, your net revenue is whatever you make it, whatever you can, slim the fat or trim the fat. I mean, of your business model. And we're obviously, we're always refining that. I mean, it's not something that's going to be like, oh, we're writing on the 10 commandments set in stone. Like things change, like markets change, like I said, knowing your numbers and knowing your market is imperative to know how to run and structure your business.
For sure. And Justin said it's an expense, not at net at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So we have a question here from Jeff, and this is more so like marketing lead gen. I'll throw it up here. So aside from the probate/inherited leads, hope Joe T is still on, what are your other top 2 lists to mail to, assuming you're mailing for your leads?
Yeah, we are the best ones that we do are the probate and inherited ones. We live in Florida. Everybody's dying every day here, or not everybody, but a lot of people die here every day. Let's just be honest. But the other one we do that works really well so far is just vacant high equity. That's just always a good list. We don't use find motivated sellers now. That list sucks. It's terrible. Sorry, Kent. I love you, but the list sucks now. I'm sorry. It's been oversaturated. And the other thing about it is that I just ran the numbers last week on like the 3 main counties here. High equity vacants, there was only 1,400 on his list, when I know there's a lot more than that. And so we use Eric Torrenti for our vacant list. But that works really well. And then the other one maybe would be evictions. Or we don't do a ton of mailing, Jeff. So I'm not the marketing guy in our business here either. I have Ian does that for us. So he'd be better to answer that question for you. But those definitely are our best is inherited, and the vacants and evictions work really well too.
Very cool. Yeah, I believe Jeff's up in Wisconsin area.
Ask Jason Lund what he's doing if you're up in Wisconsin. He's my business partner in TV RIA. Ask him what he's doing. I know he does a lot of probate too.
There you go. I'll have to connect them once we hang up here. Cool, guys. Tina, some love from the Investor Views team. Thank you, Greg, for spending some time with us today and sharing some serious knowledge bombs. Hashtag bring it.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Awesome, guys. Well, we're going to wrap up here soon. Let's see here. Bam. Can we get a hashtag bring it for Greg for just bringing out a lot of energy and insight here? Really, we had over 100 comments and questions. Wow. I know some of them were discussion points, but clearly you guys enjoyed Greg, and I hope he brought a ton of value to you guys. I know he did for me. So feel free to get some last second questions in here. Greg, if you had any parting words, those would be appreciated as well.
We'll get you Eric Torrenti stuff, guys. Definitely no problem. Honestly, guys, it's just a matter of knowing your numbers and failing as fast as possible. Made plenty of failures and made plenty of bad decisions and choices over the last 5 years, and I'm going to continue to make them, and I'm going to continue to learn from them. I think that we all, I talk about a lot on my podcast, is that we are as inherently as human beings, and especially if you've come from a 9-to-5 type job, we are all inherently afraid to fail. It's one of those things that as an entrepreneur, you have to just get the hell over it. Because you will fail and you will get kicked in the teeth, and you just have to go fuck it, and pick yourself up and go. We've had a couple of things happen in the last few months that just kicked us in our teeth, and we just have to keep pushing forward. And you just you take it on the chin, and you keep fighting. Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he doesn't get hit very often, but if he gets hit, he just keeps on coming back. That's Mike Tyson or any of those other guys. They just keep coming back. They get knocked down. They keep coming back. And that's what you guys have to look at as whether you're an entrepreneur in real estate investing or as an agent, or whether you're on a totally different aspect of the business. It doesn't matter. You're going to fail, and it's okay to fail. Just make sure you win more than you fail. That's it.
Wise words from a great man. Greg Simpson, thank you so much for coming on. Much appreciation and gratitude your way. Hopefully we can get some ping pong on the books here next time we meet up in person. Hopefully it's before the next mastermind in October. I'll have to work. You beat me every time.
That's what I do. Sorry.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. We'll have another one soon.
All right.